So in my last video, I talked about some of the downsides that I experienced in my first week of alternate day fasting. And I sort of hinted at the fact that there were several pros, there were several great things that were happening that were productive and motivating and terrific that I kind of wanted to share in a separate video just for length's sake, so it didn't get too long. But like positive things. Here's the positive things that I experienced in the first 7 days or so. The first thing I noticed, and this was maybe by the second day, maybe really on the first day of my first fast day on March 1st, is that my stomach felt like it was smaller. It just felt like it's shrinking, and it still feels like it's shrinking. So, I mean, like right away, if you're feeling heavy and bloated and just like you're full, within a day or two, you feel better in that sense. For me, I've never really been a scale guy, and in fact, one of the mistakes I made is that I didn't measure my weight before I started fasting. I've never really checked my weight that much. I've never been one to obsess on the scale, So I didn't check my weight until 7 days in, until a week after I had started this program. And that's where I took my first weight, which was 304, which is the one I've mentioned in my other videos. So I'm due to weigh myself tomorrow, which is 8 days from my last weigh. But my gauge for whether I'm gaining or losing weight has always been whether my pants fit. And it kind of has more to do with the shape of my body than it does with, the scale. So, when my pants start to get tight, there's two types of people in the world. There's the people who go out, when their pants start to get tight, they either go out and buy new pants that are in a larger size, or they say, I got to do something about my weight. I don't want to go out and buy new pants. I don't want to look at, just wearing sweatpants. And it's funny, like all the fat people you see wearing athletic clothes. I don't want looser clothes. I want to wear the same jeans I always wear. Or, your chinos or whatever it is that you wear. I want to do something about the weight. I'm not, if you don't stop it when it's small, and when your issue is small, it's like any other problem in life. It compounds, it gets worse later. At what point are you going to address it? Well, my philosophy has always been address it when my pants start to get tight. And so I've never really been a scale guy. But I noticed right away that my stomach felt looser. It wasn't as tight. And that may have had something to do with the cons that I mentioned in the last video about how I dealt with diarrhea. It was almost like my system was flushing itself out, saying, let's just get it, which it was good. It was like seeing what I have to deal with or what I have to work with, going back to square one in a way. Within my first 2 days of fasting, I felt like my stomach was shrinking. As a result of that, I know for a fact that I've been eating less. And I knew that within the first week. I mean, it's just obvious. Even on your feast days, okay, so you go 1 or 2 days of fasting, and then on your feast days, what I've noticed is that in the morning, even though I can eat, I'm really not that hungry. I'm not starving the next day. And then when I do eat, I mean, this happened to me just yesterday. I was eating more or less because I knew I needed to, because I had worked out and I knew I needed to give my muscles something to eat. But in the early part of the day, I really can't say that I was hungry. I could have taken it or left it. And that really has to do, I think, with the stomach shrinking. And it's almost like fasting. It's counterintuitive, I know, but it's almost like fasting is an appetite suppressant because you just can't eat as much as you did before. And I noticed that very quickly. After maybe 2 days of fasting, I noticed, hey, I'm not eating as much as I normally would on a normal day. On a normal feed day, I'm not eating as much as I normally would. And I'm not feeling deprived. I'm not hungry. And it's almost like weird. It's almost like frustrating because you're like, well, I want to eat everything in sight on my feed day because I know fast day is coming tomorrow. But in reality, in the way it works out, you don't do that. There was like one night where I had done my fast, or I was on my feast day, my up day, and I had a nice big juicy apple, and it was the end of the day, and I was like, that's going to be my snack before I go to sleep. That's the last thing I'm going to leave in my gut, so to speak, before my fast day. And I just wasn't hungry enough to eat it. I just couldn't, so it's like there's a reduction of calories. You eat less when you start this plan, and there's no doubt about it. You create a calorie deficit. Yesterday was my 14th day on the plan. And I ate more yesterday than I've eaten in the last 2 weeks. And I started the day with oatmeal. I had two cheeseburgers for lunch, but I didn't eat the bread. I just kind of had them on a plate. And I had some bananas with peanut butter slathered on them. And then I didn't really eat much, and the whole time I was like, I'm not hungry, but I was just eating because I feel like I need to put something in my body so I don't lose muscle. And I never really felt hungry until the afternoons, and that's become a pattern. I don't really feel hungry on my feeding days until the afternoons. And so last night I had like 5 slices of Domino's pizza and 2 craft beers, and loosely ate about 3,000 calories, which is my maintenance calories. So, and then I'm fasting today. So, I mean, it's not hard to figure out the deficit that you're creating there. If you need 3,000 calories a day and you eat it in one day, and then the next day you eat nothing, you're creating a deficit in those 2 days of 3,000 calories, or half my intake. So I know that I'm eating at least half, if not more, of what I was eating before I started on this plan. Even though I can't really, I don't have a judgment for weight loss yet. I won't have that till tomorrow. I know that I'm eating less. And I'm not deprived. I'm not suffering as a result of it. Another thing I noticed is, besides the fact that I get full faster on my feasting days, is I really don't want junk food. For the most part, I've had a little craving here and there, but for the most part, I don't want junk food. It's like, because I'm paying more attention to what I eat, I think on the down day, when I have the low calorie meal, when I come to the feeding day, I still don't want junk. It's like, there's just not that appeal. I don't want as much sugar. I talked about how my taste in coffee had changed. Right now, at least, my body seems to be thanking me for the changes that I'm making, and I noticed that very early on, like after the first week, but before 10 days, I noticed a change there where I'm like, I don't want to eat junk, so that was a change. Something else, just generally, you have more awareness when you're fasting. And you're tracking your calories, you have more awareness of what's in everything you eat and the effect that it's going to have on you, the consequences of eating that food, and the content of that food, the nutritional content. You think more about that. So it's like you become more aware of how your body is going to relate to that food and the effect it's going to have on you. And so you just become more self-aware of what you're doing with your body and the fuel that you're putting into it, which is a positive thing, I think, because it helps you to control. It gives you a sense of, that you're doing what's right and proper. You're giving your body the medicine that it needs and the fuel that it needs that's most efficient. And even if you do, like I did, eat pizza and beer, you know that the next day you're going to do something that's right for your body. So, for me, even with the cravings that I had, I always knew I was always one day away from being able to eat whatever I wanted. And so it's like a cool balance between knowing what you're eating and also not feeling like a restriction there. If I want something, if I want chocolate, if I want pizza, if I want hot wings, or whatever I want, I can have it. I just have to have it at the proper time and not on the fast day. So that was something that kept me motivated going on. Another thing is that I know I'm hydrated. There's no question that I'm hydrated. I'm drinking water every day, and some other drinks. All I've really had to drink, I wasn't a soda dude. I didn't really like soda beforehand. I don't like sugary drinks anyway. So I drink water, green tea. Sometimes I'll put stevia in the green tea to sweeten it. I don't really like the taste of stevia, but it goes well in green tea. So I'm drinking water, green tea, and black coffee. And that's pretty much what I drink. I know I'm hydrated. I'm eating more on my fast days. I know that I'm eating more vegetables than I did before I started this plan. And the reason for that is because raw vegetables are the biggest bang for your buck, nutritionally speaking, but also volume-wise. You can eat a giant salad, and I mean like with 3 cups of spinach, raw spinach, raw broccoli or cauliflower. You can put a can of, I don't know, some protein you like. You can either, put half an avocado in there, or I like to use a small can of tuna or a small can of chicken. Those are generally about 100 calories. And you can make a giant freaking salad that fills you up before about 7 o'clock dinner time, that fills you up and sets you feeling really good. And so as a result of being on this plan, I know that I'm eating more vegetables than I ever did. I know that I'm getting better nutrition than I ever did. Even if I did go and eat total junk on the feeding days, I know that I'm getting more nutrition. My body is getting more nutrition than it normally would. And so it's like just by, in a quest to eat less, I'm eating right. I'm eating cleaner, if that makes any sense. Another thing I noticed in the first week is that I was more productive. I felt more energized, and this is a weird, counterintuitive thing, but especially around day 9 or 10 on my fast day, I would notice like all this energy, and I'm fasting today, and I have a ton of energy. I mean, I'm on my feet. I'm doing housework. I'm doing things I need to do. I'm doing my work online. And, I just have a ton of energy. And I'm not thinking about food except to talk in this video. The cravings are gone. I don't think about food during the day. And it's just like, it frees you up. It's like half the time your life is freed up. You're not thinking about what your next meal is going to be. You're not worrying about lunch. And you just have freedom to do what you need to do. And the energy is there. And don't ask me why. I don't fully understand the reason behind that. I don't know if maybe it's because the process of digestion, like maybe we use up energy when we're digesting things, because I actually notice that I feel more sluggish on days that I'm eating. So it makes no sense. It's opposite land. But the reality is, on fast days, I have a ton of energy. And I noticed that towards the end of the first 7 to 10 days, that there was some kind of switch in my body where it just said, okay, we're just going to go. We're not going to think about food. This is what this madman's doing. And it's just adjusted. And I love it. I actually look forward to the fast days. I look forward to being able to do things without thinking about food and without giving any thought to food. So, there's also a spiritual, fasting is not new to the world. People have fasted. Muslims fast, Jews fast, Christians fast, Buddhists fast. I mean, there's a lot of evidence for fasting that probably Native Americans fast. It's one of those things where when you fast, if you are a person that's spiritual, you will feel like that thing is driving you. And for me as a Christian and a believer in Jesus Christ, I just feel closer to God on the days that I'm fasting. I know I'm not actually, but I just feel more God conscious. I feel like Like my prayer life is stronger. And it's just like setting food aside seems to sort of ignite a fire. And, I'm not saying you have to be any sort of believe in anything to reap the benefits of fasting, because there are physical benefits. But there are spiritual benefits too if you are a person who's pursuing truth, who's pursuing God. And so that's one thing I would mention. If that doesn't apply to you, you can just let it go by. If the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. So these are some of the positive things that I've seen, and it's what kept me going. It's what kept me going and motivated when I was on experiencing hunger cravings. I still experience cravings, on the end of that first period, that 7 to 10 days, that trial period. I still do experience hunger here and there on the fast days. But what I've noticed is there's a lot less intensity, and it only lasts 5 or 10 minutes, and then it passes. And maybe it's only 2 or 3 times a day. I've noticed I tend to get hungry like right around 10 o'clock, right around like 3 or 4 o'clock, and then usually right before I eat, right around 6:30 or 7 o'clock. In effect, what I'm doing now is I'm 24-hour fasting every other day, because I eat my last meal about 7 o'clock on my feeding day. I eat right around 7. I don't eat anything else. I don't take any calories in until 7 o'clock or thereabouts the next day. And, my body's adjusted to it very quickly, a lot faster than I thought it would. And I feel better. Tomorrow I'm going to weigh myself in the morning. I'll probably make another video tomorrow to talk about that, to have a real number, to document that, and also to just talk about the process, to talk about what my goals are, how I'm tracking my calories, and my exercise, how I'm staying physical. I'll talk about some of those things tomorrow, the actual process. So, this was just some of the positive things that I noticed in my first week to 10 days.